Nation, Trey Strelko here, and this is the Sons of UCF Live. Let's welcome in Adam and Mike. Guys, a championship is on the line.
Just how we drew it up, Trace, just how we thought it would happen this year. Every twist, every turn, we saw it all coming, but we still have everything in front of us, so it's a good day, my friends.
This is what we said at the beginning of the year. Can we get to championship Saturday? Here we are. Would have been nice to be at home, but we got to do it the hard way. That's fine with me, too.
The hard way? You mean like the second half near complete implosion in Tampa on Saturday night? You guys documented it well on the podcast earlier this week. Knights win that one 46-39. But as Mike said, and as I listened, the moment that stays with you, you know, that viral call. Adam, play it.
Yeah, go on.
En caso tal, 27 segundos, tercera y 8 en la 14. Mikey la tiene. A ver qué hace. Va a buscar el pase hacia la izquierda. ¡Anotación para UCF!
Alec Holler's game-winning touchdown is called by Carlos Borquez and his partner Sergio Ruiz Torres. That just sums up all the joy there. It took a while to get there in that second half, but Knights victorious.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster, man. I mean, it certainly was a roller coaster. Tale of two halves. Obviously, in the second half, it seemed like everything that could go wrong was going wrong. And certainly that game ended up being closer than we wanted it. But I'm going to pull the Gus Malzahn here. I'm going to say, hey, the positive was we fought through adversity. We were down. You know, we had a bunch of turnovers, a bunch of errors kind of going our way. We still found a way to win. That's what we had to do. We got to where we want to. We can put that one behind us, leave the Cows in West Tampa forever and move forward. So it wasn't pretty. It should have been a little bit more of a blowout, but a win's a win, and we'll take it.
The one thing you can't say about this team is they don't know how to pull out a close one. They've done it a couple times now. They did it against Cincinnati, down to the wire, and now this one, they made it interesting. They didn't have to make it interesting, but it makes it more exciting for us looking back on it. And you have those memories now being in the stadium when he scored that touchdown and winning the game. It was fun.
I think it was good that the referee on field called it a touchdown first and not out of bounds, because I don't know how it would have survived the replay challenge otherwise. Tight end Alec Holler, he's been the man of the moment. He has really had a stretch here. Well, let's not forget at Tulane, that Holler hop, extending his body for the first down. A former walk-on earns the scholarship, a local kid who cheered the Knights on from the stands. He has talked about, the big moment, of course, giving credit to his teammates. Mikey Keene coming on in place of an injured John Rice Plumlee. This was Alec Holler's reaction, he said, to the game-winning touchdown catch.
Oh, yeah, my phone was blown up. It was funny. I had gotten some texts from people that I hadn't heard from in a while, which is kind of funny. But, I mean, just a lot of support, and I really appreciate, all the messages and just all the Night Nation's just energy and just the support for our whole team after we won that game.
And then you touched on
another guy that doesn't have to buy anything when he's out in a pub or a restaurant in Orlando, right? I mean, Knight fans going to take care of Alec Holler for a long time to come.
Yeah, such a good story, too. Obviously, Tracy told it at the press conference on Monday. Walk-on, knee injury, kind of working his way up the depth chart. Wasn't sure how much time he was going to get. New staff comes in, not sure what his playing time looks like. And you said it. I mean, we've talked about it on the show we're doing this week with Andy. All the blocking that he's done this year. He's been integral in that part of the game. The huge catch against Memphis, the Holler hop, and obviously now the Holy Holler here at the Cows. I mean, you got to feel good for a kid like that. He grew up rooting for UCF, bleeds black and gold, and it's kind of one of those movie type deals, right? Like I could see this being a movie one day. So hopefully, it's only a movie though if we win. So I'm gonna need him to go ahead and do something in Tulane on Saturday.
I'm glad his phone was blowing up, because if we would have lost that game, my phone would have been blowing up, and it wouldn't have been nice. It would have been a lot of insults flying my way. So he saved me from that. And do we get another year of Holler? Is he coming back? Does he have that extra COVID year or whatever? If
wasn't this his extra year this year?
I don't know.
This was his extra year.
I'm asking you guys.
I thought I heard an unconfirmed rumor that there's potential he's coming back. So I don't know if I unconfirmed that rumor, but it's possible.
Night Nation, you're watching, drop it in the comments and let us know if you know that answer better than we do. We turn attention now to the AAC championship game. Of course, the loss to Navy a couple of weeks ago at home on senior day means UCF finds itself in a position where it's got to go on the road back to New Orleans. The Knights 22nd ranked in the CFB, Tulane 18th ranked Saturday, 4 Eastern, 3 Central, also on ABC. Green Wave have had a heck of a year, 10-2 on the season. They're favored slightly at home. So, I think that's the differential there, the home. But UCF proved a couple of weeks ago that it could win on the road. And a key in that game was John Rice Plumlee, who, as we talked about all week now, left that game earlier with a hamstring injury. He's been doing radio earlier with Mark Daniels and as well other spots this week saying he's going to play. Gus Malzahn says he's going to play. May not be 100%, but Coach Malzahn says he hasn't been for a couple of weeks anyway.
Yeah, Gus was really doing the media tour today. He was on every radio show in America, and he said the same thing. John Rice is going to play. He's not 100%, but who is 100%? And I guess we'll see how limited he is. My assumption would be he's good enough to go. Now, will he be able to do the things we saw? I don't know, Trace. What's funny is Gus led everyone to believe post-game that this has been an injury that John Rice has been dealing with for about a month now. So I'd love to have an injured hamstring and play like that for a month. I get from my couch to my fridge, and I have to keel over. But so we'll see how healthy he can be. And this is a Tulane team that we have to. I understand we beat them the last time. They went to Cincinnati on the road, and no one has beaten them in 30-plus games. They pulled off that win. They're obviously going to be in front of their home crowd. So it's going to be a tough battle. And I know we do the myth of it's tough to beat the same team twice in 1 year. But we've obviously been there. We have the blueprint. We were literally just on that field 3 weeks ago with a win. So a lot of things could fall in our favor. But I think somebody said it best in the comments earlier. Week to week, you never know which UCF team you're going to get. I saw people talking about this being like the 2013 Cardiac Nights. This isn't Cardiac Nights. This is bipolar nights because you never know what you're going to get from quarter to quarter, from half to half.
You got to be a little concerned if he can finish the game, right? The last 2 games in a row, he's had to come out at halftime. One time it was the shoulder. This time it's the hamstring. How healthy is he? We're lucky we have Mikey Keene there to back us up.
I don't know why UCF just doesn't use that magic spray that you see a lot in soccer and in the World Cup. Just spray it on the hamstring, and he'll be fine. Mike, I know you talked about preseason. You said that the goal here, get to maybe not necessarily win the American Athletic Conference Championship game, and that was a question I asked. It went back and forth on my Twitter poll this week. Do you consider this a successful season? Not yet. Slipped ahead. It's our friend at GoKnights_Paul J. Can we just be happy we're in the conference championship and stop second guessing our coaching staff? We've had a successful season. Life is great. Mike, you would have voted yes, right? They're in that championship game no matter the outcome.
Yeah, it's a successful season. Is it a great season? Well, then we have to win. Now we're here. Now that we're here, we got to get greedy. We got to go for the win, and that changes everything. So it's a good year. That right now it's at least as good as 2012, 2005. Those were good seasons. We got to the championship game. Is it going to be a fantastic season like 2017, 18? You go there, you go to a New Year's Six game. That's a completely different story.
Well, the stakes in this one as well, that if you lose this game, win Cotton Bowl, lose, and where you at? Shreveport, Boston in late December. So I think when I phrased it as not yet, I think fans are waiting to see the outcome of this before they determine success. Adam.
Yeah, I mean, I want the trophy, right? I want to be holding the trophy, and I think if I'm holding the trophy, it's a resounding yes. If after Saturday I'm not holding the trophy, it's probably a yes. But I'm going to need a few days to do the autopsy on the season to kind of understand how we ended up here. To Mike's point, it's a good year. It's a year 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We'll all look back and say, hey, remember that 2022 team? We won 9, 10 games, whatever it is. And, we went to this bowl and it was a great season. But I'm going to need some time if we don't win this one to do the autopsy on this one. But I need that trophy. If I'm holding the trophy, resounding yes. If I'm not, give me a couple days. Let me think about it.
Well, let's talk about this game, the game just passed, the war on I-4, and as well, this weekend's game in Tulane with Drew Johnson, writes for Elite Empire Athletes at Real News 102 on Twitter, another return guest on Sons of UCF Live. Drew, welcome back.
Yes, sir, man. I thank y'all for having me back on. I even dressed a little bit more casual this time.
Well, you're fitting right in. Now, be honest, okay? We had opportunity to sit near each other in the press box. I was pretty calm, right? Even when things were imploding there in the third quarter.
Yeah, no, things were definitely imploding. They were up 28-0 at the half. to see that, that was pretty crazy. But man, I kind of want to talk about that catch a little bit. Me and Trace, shout out to Trace for sneaking me down on the field. We end up being able to see that Alec Holler catch right there on the field. So that was pretty amazing to take in that atmosphere.
Yeah, well, sneak. I don't know about sneak. Our
Whoa,
allowed us access there
Hey,
the last
Trace,
5 minutes, but there was some issue.
There was a couple Bulldogs down there, right?
Yeah, yeah. There were a couple people who said you're not allowed to be down here. Hey, don't you know who we are? We pulled that card. But talk about that. The moment down there on the field, we're in the end zone when that play. How did it look to you?
Man, like I said, just to take in that atmosphere with everything on the line, a conference championship appearance on the line. You're playing your rival, likely for the last time for a while. Just taking out my phone there, man. I'm just glad I had my phone out at that time. So it was amazing. Like I said, that was probably the craziest thing that I got to see in person. Probably just the craziest thing in general. So I was just glad to be there. That's all I can say about that.
All right, Drew, coming out of that game, obviously a lot closer than any of us wanted it to be, probably a lot closer than it really should have been. What's your level of concern with what you saw from the Knights? Do you think this is one of those, hey, it's a rivalry game, bleep happens, let's just move on? Or is there any concern that you think after what you saw?
Yeah, Adam, and just analyzing that game, I think UCF definitely struggled with turnovers. I think RJ Harvey had a fumble there, and I think Mikey Keene had an issue with the mesh point handoff and had a fumble there. But that kind of turned the momentum, right, and gave USF a little bit of hope. So I think UCF definitely needs to tighten up when it comes to turnovers, and the defense has to do better with stopping the run. Because when you take a look at Tulane and take a look at Tyjae Spears, man, that's a guy that's going to pound the rock this Saturday. So they're definitely going to have to be able to slow down the run and make tackles when they get the chance.
Getting back to that Holler catch for a second, you look like a pretty athletic guy. If I was just throwing the ball to you, out in the parking lot, how many tries would it take for you to replicate that catch?
Man, Alex said he caught it with his offhand. So I don't know, man. I'm right-handed, and if I had to catch it with my left, I play basketball, so I could do a little left-hand layup here and there. So I'll probably catch a couple. But I would. That was a great catch, man. That was a great catch for real.
Would you have a name for it? Some people are calling it the Holy Holler. You come up with anything else?
No, I'll stick with the Holy Holler. Alec, talking to him in the press conference, he said he's seen that too. I guess he seemed to like. We'll stick with that one. We'll stick with that one, Mike.
We've been talking about that catch, but what gets lost there is just, a little bit before was Javon Baker, who has come up throughout the season with a lot of really great catches. He's been a tremendous addition to the wide receiver room.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Javon Baker is going to have probably he's going to have one of his best games next week, right, against Tulane, especially just the whole wide receiver group in a whole. They're going to have to get open because their offensive lines definitely come along. They're giving the quarterback time to make some plays. So that wide receiver group is going to have to get open to make plays. I'll talk about my guy that's going to have to, impact player that's going to have to make some plays in importance, but Javon Baker is definitely one of those guys.
All right, Drew, we get content anywhere we can around here at the Sons of UCF. On the podcast this week, Mike's daughter asked a question to Mike that he couldn't answer, which is not surprising, by the way. Mike then asked that question to me. I don't know that I can answer it either, so I'll ask it to you because you seem like you may know more than both of us combined. Who is UCF's best player? If someone said to you, who's the best player on UCF, what would your answer be?
Man, that's a tough question. I would say this year it has to be John Rice Plumlee, right? When you look at the whole body of his work, it was him using his feet, him making plays with his arm. He's missed a couple halves, and I think he almost had 12 rushing touchdowns. And I remember talking with you guys last time when we kind of tried to predict what he had. I think he's been the most X factor and most impact player on this team. I know RJ Harvey's one of those guys as well. Man, there's a couple other, but I think Jason. I got a few guys. Jason Johnson too, man. Being able to I guess lose Tatum Bethune, lose Bryson Armstrong, lose two of your top tacklers, and Jason and an FCS guy to come in and to lead the defensive group and tackles. Man, that's a guy you got to put a star around too, right? But John Rice Plumlee is definitely a guy that I don't know where UCF would be if they didn't have him on the offense.
You mentioned Plumlee, but a lot of people would say Mikey Keene, maybe even the actual better quarterback. He's the one that threw that touchdown to win the game. He's the one who came back and beat Cincinnati. What do you think about the way Gus has handled the whole quarterback situation this year?
I think he's handled it well, man. I think John Rice Plumlee was his guy. I think when you look back at last year, they kind of had the quarterback issue, kind of trying to put two guys in. So I think he wanted to choose one guy and go with him. But when he struggled, he's put in Keene. So I got to commend Keene, right? He's definitely came in and did his thing, especially with the limited reps he's had this year. Having that year, what he's had last year, I would have wanted to come in and start. But he's definitely a disciplined guy, a mature guy. And when he come in, he does what he has to do. So I commend Mikey Keene, man. That's a good guy. I don't know if he'll transfer or not, but you got to shout out to him, right?
Earlier, you talked about what you think the defense needs to do. Who do you think's key to making those things happen, the tackles, the stops, and what's your confidence level after what you saw last week?
Man, they almost gave up 300 rushing yards to USF. I think that's going to be a heavy dosage of Tyjae Spears. When you look at that guy, man, he hasn't had less than 130 rushing yards, I think, since like October 15th. That guy's going to play on Sundays. He can catch out the backfield. He can run in between the tackles. So it's going to come back. It's going to come down to especially Ricky Barber making some plays right there in the middle. Montalvo's done a great this season, definitely right there, solidifying that middle. But it's going to come down to Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste and Jason Johnson right there in the linebacker group. And keying in on Tyjae Spears wherever he's at, because there's going to be a heavy dosage of him. So that's going to be those two key guys.
Drew, I'm gonna keep stealing content here. You saw Trace's poll question, people asking, based on where UCF's at right now, right? Obviously, you lose to Navy, you think it's all over. You beat the Cows, barely. Now we're limping into a championship game, quite literally, with JRP. Is this a successful season in your mind? And does UCF need to win this game and advance to New Year's Six in order to make it a successful season?
No, I kind of agree with Mike, man. This is definitely, I think it's a successful season. You're going to the conference championship. You're moving on to the Big 12 next year. You got a chance to play in the New York Six Bowl, possibly the Cotton Bowl. So that I think it's a successful season. I know you might not get 12 wins or whatever, what they're used to in the 16-17 season. But it's got 11 wins on the horizon, and you can win a conference championship and win a New York Six Bowl. Come on now. Moving on to the Big 12, that's going to solidify some recruits and keep that momentum rolling on into next season.
Same answer if they lose?
Ooh, good question, Trace. If they win the conference championship, it's a successful season. Because, man, when I take a look at that roster, we've been covering the teams since the beginning of the season. This is probably one of the better teams they've had, especially when you insert a guy that can make plays at the quarterback position like a John Rice Plumlee. And you got a backup that can come in like Mikey Keene. This is a year that you gotta stamp your flag in the AAC, right, before you move on to the Big 12. So I think you gotta win an AAC championship for it to be a successful season.
Let's say that does happen. We win. We go to the Cotton Bowl. There's a couple of different matchups we could have there. Is there somebody you want to see? Do you want to see Tennessee in Hype Bowl? Do you want Alabama? Do you want Penn State?
Yeah.
What's your preference?
Those are definitely the teams that I took a look at this week, Penn State or Tennessee, but that would be cool to see a Tennessee, right, to go against a Josh Heupel. So I'll choose Tennessee, but I guess if we lined up against Alabama, that'd be cool for the fans, right? I think they all want to see that. That'll be pretty hype.
Or do fans just want to continue to lord over Alabama with their 1-0?
Nah, hey, bring on Bama. That's what they want. We'll take it.
Let's wrap up with this. How do you see this playing out? We know what John Rice Plumlee, had to leave the game early with a hamstring injury. All reports now, Coach Malzahn, John Rice saying he's going to play, maybe not 100%. How do you see this playing out after what we saw there just a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, so Trace, I think this game's going to come down to, who limits turnovers and, who's disciplined with the football. Both of these teams are balanced on both sides of the ball. They both have impact players. Take a look at Tulane. And what Willie Fritz has done over there, especially since going from 2-10 last year and going to a conference championship this year. You got to respect what they've done, right? They got a veteran quarterback or a disciplined guy, and Michael Pratt under center, a really good defense too. So it's going to be a good game. UCF's going to have to bring their game. They're going to have John Rice Plumlee is going to have his best game. Especially is going to have to understand when to use his legs and be an X factor. So, man, this is going to be a big game. I know the fans want this one. I definitely want this one as well. Being a student, graduating in a couple of weeks, it'll be awesome, for UCF to win a conference championship in my last year. So this is a big one. I know Adam said it's a benefit, right, for being able to play there for your second time, being in that atmosphere and being able to pull off a big win like that. So I think that's a benefit for UCF. Gus Malzahn is going to have a big job getting them prepared for this game, because they struggle going to ECU, and we see them coming out lackadaisical against Navy. So they're going to have to come out with some energy. That's going to be big.
Coach Malzahn said that he doesn't need a big rah-rah speech, but clearly he needs to say to the guys, we got to do it for Drew.
Yeah,
he's graduating.
Hey, thank y'all. I appreciate that, son. I appreciate that.
Drew, thanks for all your work that you do with Elite Empire athletes. Enjoy your content, and thanks for hopping back on with us. Congratulations on graduation.
Man, I respect what y'all do over here, man. I appreciate y'all for having me back on. And go Knights. I know there's in the chat, they turned up a little bit, so this is a big one. And let's go out.
The chat's a dark place, Drew. You want to stay out of there.
That's fine. That's fine.
So
hey,
this guy thinks you look 10 years older than he does. I don't know what to tell you.
Come on, Andy. Come on, brother. It's the beer. It's the beer. You want me to save the beer for y'all? Is that what y'all want me to do?
Well, Andy looks like he's 10, so
yeah, can't go by Andy here. Drew, thanks for being with us on Suns Live.
Peace, man. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you, Drew. I want to go back to this Alec Holler catch. Did you like the play call? We've talked about the catch, but did you like the play call?
I did. I know. Again,
I was ready just to run the ball one more time and kick a field goal, to be honest, and not give them the ball back at all. I mean, if you could have centered the ball a little bit, it would have been a 31-yarder. Boomer's been perfect all year. That probably would have been my play instead of throwing it.
Yeah, we shameless plug, Trace, obviously on Andy and the breakdown show we do. He's kind of shown we've had this wrinkle throughout the season a couple times. It hasn't been there. But if you think about this, right, Mikey throw it either one spot. It's going to be out of bounds. It's going to be a catch. If it's out of bounds, we still have the fourth down to kick a field goal. Sure, I would have liked to have a third down in my pockets if I blow a snap or something happens like that. But there was a good play call. Obviously, it's something I think Gus had set up. You can tell he had a little wrinkle off it than what he's done in the past. So all in all, I mean, Mikey kind of heaved that thing up there. So I think it's a low risk play. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And we got lucky in that one. So not that I don't trust Colton Boomer, but freshman kicker on the road with your rival, everything on the line. I mean, I'd rather put 6 on the board than wait on the kick.
Speaking of Colton Boomer, segue alert. Colton Boomer, has the merch store at coltonboomer.com. He's given us some merchandise to give away here over the next couple of shows. We just need you to give us a good 5-star review, and we will choose one of those next week after, and we'll give away some merch over the next couple of weeks. Compliments of true freshman kicker Colton Boomer, and be sure to check out coltonboomer.com for backstory on him, all that he's involved with, and he's been donating proceeds from sales of merchandise to charity. So that's been a nice thing to see from him. So 5-star review, we'll promote that on social media as well. And we want to hear from you with a positive review. So win some Colton Boomer merchandise. We'll give that away on the next show. News and notes, all conference team. Any surprises here? You like the first team all conference? Ryan Swoboda, Lokahi Paule, Ricky Barber, Traymon Morse-Brash, Jason Johnson. Feel good about all those?
Yeah, no qualms with those. I think Swoboda was the only one that I guess maybe low key I hadn't really been tracking all years, having a sort of a first team type season, but certainly I think deserving of an award. So I don't have any qualms with who's on the list.
I think if you asked us before the season, we wouldn't have said we would have had 2 guys on the first team from the offensive line. I think we probably would have said maybe a running back or wide receiver. So that took me by a little bit by surprise. And then to have a linebacker too, and Jason Johnson. Some surprises for me.
Second team, Ryan O'Keefe, Sam Jackson, Matt Lee, Isaiah Bowser. Interesting, all the concerns about the offensive line throughout the season, and you've got several guys between first and second team.
Yeah, I mean, these are veteran guys, obviously, and we knew we had a veteran group. I think the challenge was going to be could they all kind of cohesively work together? Being the first time that 5-man unit playing together, Sam Jackson moving around. So I think we knew we had the talent there. This kind of shows where we are too. So somebody in the chat is asking about Javon Baker. I think receivers are just so tough. I don't know if they've had enough opportunities this year to maybe catch as many passes as other players in the American Conference. But I think Bowser's second team, he's a touchdown hog at the goal line there. I mean, he's pretty much automatic from 3 yards and in. So I think a pretty good list. Surprised JRP didn't make it anywhere on here. Just the numbers are so eye popping. I know he didn't play every game, and
number of games, right?
Number of quarters, but the numbers themselves are so eye popping. I was surprised he didn't show up in this list someplace.
I think the guys that voted on this just look at the numbers. I mean, if they broke down each game, they could see how big of a contributor Javon Baker was and all the big plays he made. He doesn't have the stats maybe as some of the other guys. And then the offensive linemen get credit for the runs that Plumlee and these other guys are putting up too. So I don't know how much credit how much I put into these awards things.
Well, we know you don't like the awards, and I know you don't like the watch list. But are you willing to like this one, where the Manley Award, Alex Ward, now one of the final 3, just as he was last year, didn't win it, back in the final 3 again. Mike, you're all right with that? We can talk about that one. You're okay with?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'd love to see the guys that are actually watching the long snapper on every team. I mean, how much of this is name recognition, and then again, did he have any bad snaps? No? Okay, then he stays on the list. Oh, he botched one? All right, he's off the list.
What role did he have in that 64-yard Colton Boomer attempt? He doesn't need to submit that play on his tape.
It was a good snap still. I mean, it wasn't like it was his fault. He got it there. What do you want him to do?
Yeah, that was, of course, Colton Boomer's only miss on the season from a field goal perspective. And now, all the bowl projections have Tulane going to the Cotton Bowl, assume Tulane a win. And I think that's in large part because they're hosting. If this game was in Orlando, I think you'd see all those predictions calling for UCF. But now a loss, and back to that question of whether this is a successful season or not. CBS Sports, Independence versus Coastal, ESPN, Fenway versus Wake Forest, or Armed Forces versus Kansas. 24/7 sticking with Cure versus Western Kentucky. Action Network, back to the Gasparilla versus BYU. Hard to see those bowl projections when you're so close to the cup.
Yeah, I'm not looking at any of those right now, Trey. It's one track mind. We got a game Saturday. We'll figure it out after that. I know you love the bowl projections. You've been doing this since like July for some reason. I have no idea how you did that. But don't talk to me until Sunday. Talk to me on Sunday about bowls.
I'm like Henry Hill in Goodfellas. Just no matter what, just no place cold, okay? I don't want to go anywhere cold. Send me somewhere in Florida.
Forecast looks good Saturday in New Orleans, 70s at game time. And let's talk about this one a little more. Return guest, had her just here a couple of weeks ago, Maddie Hudak, sideline reporter on the radio broadcast crew for Tulane. Maddie, welcome back to Suns Live.
Thanks for having me. I said I kind of hoped that we would get to do this again, and I'm glad that ended up working out in the end.
I was very confident, wasn't I, when I messaged you after Tulane beat Cincinnati, fully expecting there to be no problem on Saturday for UCF. I told Adam, I go, Maddie's back in. He's like, too soon. Let's get the W.
He did.
He did. He was upset with me that I had a guest booking already. Like, Maddie, let's dig into this first before we talk about this game. What's going on with Sellout Gate here? Come on now. Come on. You announced a sellout on Sunday. Every day, more tickets are being released. What's going on there?
I'm not going to pretend like I am the authority on ticketing questions, but from what I've at least been able to gather based on the discussions I've seen on Twitter, if you will, the AAC has a certain allotment of tickets as well that get put out to every team, which kind of surprised me a bit if that's true, because I mean, no offense, but I really wouldn't have much interest in going to like a random AAC championship game that didn't have my team in it, but that's at least what I saw. I otherwise don't know much about that situation, but I don't think, Tulane performs better on the road sometimes in a way. So it's not as if home field advantage is so quintessential to this matchup that I see them doing anything intentional. Like I also think that the conference is in charge of a lot of that stuff. Like we had to apply for credentials, and I'm like, Corey, what if we get denied? Do we just not cover the game? But
well, the press box is a little tight. It can be a little stuck. So you're a little skeptical. You're a little skeptical that this is a full sellout at this point in the week.
I wouldn't say so. I mean, if Memphis sold out, I don't know what, for homecoming, I don't know why this wouldn't sell out, to be honest.
All right, we'll take that, Maddie. Obviously, we'll get to the game in a second. Tulane has been in the news this week, not because they're playing in this game, but also the rumors with Willie Fritz and the flirtation potentially with Georgia Tech. And he took the job. He didn't take the job. Now he doesn't have the job. No, he gave the job up. Somebody else has the job. How much of this noise do you think has impacted the team and everybody around Tulane this week?
The team, I would honestly say none. Just looking at what they put into their preparation this week, I think that quite honestly, they had this marked on their calendar the second that we ended up losing to you guys a couple weeks back. I think that everyone kind of expected this to be the final matchup of this conference, even though Cincinnati sneaking in was certainly not out of the question, but you guys just kind of beat Tulane in a bad, that was a hard way to lose to a team. Just really, John Rice Plumlee, and I will laugh at my score prediction from the last time, which literally came out of nowhere because I knocked you.
Do you remember what you said by chance?
It's something like 27-14 Tulane, which I don't even think made any sense on either side. It was just a random. I'm notoriously bad for giving score predictions that have to have weird things take place. So I'm not the one for that. But John Rice Plumlee, I think, really surprised Tulane's defense to start off. And I do remember there being this moment where someone made mention of the fact that y'all had brought in heaters and we didn't have them on our sideline, and it got really cold during that game. And I honestly saw a lot of brain freeze kind of going on Tulane's side. I found it interesting that they actually brought heaters in to our sideline for that Thursday's game. But I mean, the players had a meeting with Willie on Monday, but they also held their own meeting by themselves. And just seeing, I've spent a lot of time looking at the defense and what they've been prepping for this game. And really just the attention to detail has not wavered at all. The practice vibes have not changed whatsoever. And, they, at the end of the day, have a coach that, per what the Athletic said, basically said, if it's this job or me coaching the championship game, I'm coaching the championship game. So any potential distractions, I think, have been fully snuffed out by now. And thankfully, so.
You guys have played a lot better since the last time we played you. You blew out SMU a couple weeks ago. You went on the road, beat Cincinnati. The game against us, you had a bunch of drop passes. Is that something that's been common throughout the season, or is that kind of just credit to nerves in that game? And do you expect any more nerves this game?
I don't even know if it was nerves. It was really bizarrely uncharacteristic of Tulane's receivers. There were two drops in the opening drive, the first pass and then the third, they went 3 and out, and it kind of just spiraled downhill from there. That was more of a problem last year, way more so. I think that the position group coaching has improved a lot. I really think John McMenamin, our wide receivers coach, has just brought a lot of fundamentals to the position, and they brought in some key guys like Lawrence Keys, who I thought would be a little more involved in the offense earlier on in this season, but perhaps he's just kind of getting more up to speed, or they're just kind of figuring out his role for him. But he's really been a quintessential part of that for me. And Deuce Watts, I think, should have several more receptions on his stat sheet than he did with some of the ones that he's had overturned lately. But when they had to make a convincing march downfield and take the lead back from Cincinnati, they did it really commandingly in the air, and the receivers stepped up when they needed to. So it's not to say that it's a guarantee, but it's also, I don't think, the heart of the offense either. But the UCF one stands out as one of the, the worst opening quarters of the defense this season by far, one of their worst rushing defenses of the season, but wide receivers worst game of the season without question.
After seeing how South Florida ran the ball Saturday in Tampa, I think a lot of Knight fans are reluctant to see Tyjae Spears on Saturday. What's it like to cover him? What's he like off the field?
It's really, to say that it's been a pleasure, I don't think does it justice. These guys on Tulane's team, I sound like it's easy for me to, say that they're great guys, but he was one of the first people that I really connected with in the program. When I started last year, I came in, I think, about a week into training camp. And then a couple weeks later, we all got evacuated to a really tense and just kind of miserable situation in Birmingham. And it was kind of hard to want to almost burden them more with, trying to formulate relationships after, losing the opening game to Oklahoma. And then everything just went really downhill from Ole Miss. But he was just one of those first guys that I connected with. And he's just so humble. He did an interview with my friend over the summer where she asked him about his most memorable performances from Tulane. And he forgot Memphis last year, where he has, the 4th single game rushing output in Tulane history, and all top 3 are Matt Forte. But that game in Cincinnati, he played every game snap, and I haven't seen him do that yet. And I don't think he's done that since coming back from his injury in 2020. But when he's out on the field, every defense has to pay attention to him. And to win AAC Offensive Player of the Year as the first non-quarterback to win the award, sometimes it usually goes to the quarterbacks by default, and sometimes it does just feel like a gimme. But this really felt like a well-earned award for a guy who's just so dynamic as a running back and a pass catcher and a blocker. He really is just everything you could ask for. And I really look forward to seeing him on Sundays next year.
Maddie, what do you think Tulane needs to do differently to win this week? Obviously, you saw the game when we were there a few weeks back. What do you want to see Tulane do differently this game that they didn't do the previous game?
On both sides of the ball, start a lot stronger than they did. And that, whether it's a strong rushing attack to start the game, or they go back to the air game, which I don't anticipate again being as uncharacteristically bad as it was against you guys the first time. But going 3 and out would not really speak well for them. And I did just see someone's comment about the only team that he had thrown for over 200 yards in the last 5 games was UCF. A lot of that was the fact that they had to, because you guys were beating us the entire time. But a lot of that also is that this offense really just takes what the defense gives them, and it's very complimentary, and it's centered around a star running back. So he's also thrown 3 career highs this season and has improved his completion percentage by 10%. But I mean, the defense, man, if John Rice Plumlee is starting, that what happened last time can't happen again. And you guys have a lot of motion in the backfield, a lot of things happening at the same time. And the players got by it the first time, and I think that just gets so out of hand in that first quarter that I thought they fought well for the rest of the game, but you guys really had to just kind of hold on to that lead. And it never really felt like, didn't feel like Tulane was out of it, but it never really felt like the momentum shifted onto their side of things either. So to take that momentum and grab it from the start, I think is really important for Tulane this game.
Before you came on, we were discussing whether this was already a successful season for UCF, just getting to the championship game. I have to think you guys coming off a 2-win season, you have to be already classifying this as a successful season, win or lose this one, right?
Absolutely. I think it would be heart-crushing just after, again, what they have done these last 2 seasons, to go from 2-10 to 10-2, and to be the one saying we're going to the conference championship back in January, and anyone that said they believed them at all at that time is crazy or lying. And, I was high on the fact that I thought they would make a bowl this year, but it really has taught me a lesson in believing in myself, to be honest with you, and no one else really does. And the fact that with the transfer portal and NIL and the conference realignments, all of that happening last season, there were so many things in flush that there was every reason for these guys to hit the transfer portal. And the fact that only one of the starters from last year did, and these guys all saw something here to win the games that they've won in the way that they have. The road game against Kansas State, Willie Fritz's first Power 5 win, where the defense makes 4 fourth down stops with second and third string guys on one of those. And then Willie just goes for it on 4th down to win the game. And then they beat Houston in overtime with their third string quarterback who wasn't supposed to start. Like, it really has just been an incredible series of wins and then just 2 really bad losses. And you'd hate to really see a third loss tarnish what these guys have done this season. I think that the goals they've set for themselves are, clearly to continue on and go to the Cotton Bowl. And I know that's your guys' goal here as well, but it's hard not to say that they haven't turned, honestly, the perception of Tulane football around, because that's something that is a little more unique to this university, is kind of the disconnect between fan engagement, the university's engagement, and the football program. And it's all come together this season, I think, in a way that blew everyone away. And it, being an alumni, last year being my first season, just to have these 2 seasons, I don't really know what's going to top them, to be honest with you, but I think they've already really shown that they've set the standard for excellence and really just manifested their own reality by saying that stuff almost a year ago.
Do you believe then in the concept that they might be a team of destiny?
I hate to say those kind of things because, it's ultimately 60 minutes of football with context situation and the ball rolling one way or the other. But this whole season has kind of felt that way. To beat Cincinnati at home, they were the first team to do it in 32 games. And I think it went over the span of 5 years. And, they've suffered some serious injuries. And then you have Jarius Monroe, making first team as the backups who's came in relief since Jaden Kennedy tore his ACL against Memphis. The hits they've taken this year just really haven't seemed to phase them at all. And this 1-0 mentality, it's what got them over your guys' game. I'll say that. The way they came out against SMU, I think shocked everyone there. I expected them to have a good response, but that mentality of just flushing it down the toilet and moving on and being better for the next opponent has just gotten them so far this season that it does feel like, at least on Tulane's side of things, this would be the perfect ending to the story for you guys. I not in a bad way, but I think it would be the perfect spoil upset just based on the narratives of this season, because you guys are leaving the conference. We're the only one staying, and then it's just, the fall to the rise to almost losing Willie Fritz to him staying to coach this game. I'd like to think Destiny's on our side, but I'm a Saints fan, so I'm cynical about Destiny.
So what's your score prediction?
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Put you on the spot, Maddie.
I don't think I can give one for this game because I'm so afraid of jinxing things that I physically.
That's why I asked, Maddie.
Based on the last time, I can't say you guys win. But I cannot respectfully give a score. I think this one is going to be similar to the 38-31 result that we saw the last time, because I think it's clear that both teams have kind of figured out how to exploit those vulnerabilities on each other's defenses, but neither defense is going to let it get out of control, but they both know what's on the line here, and I expect them to both pull out every trick in their bag to get that extra touchdown and run away with this. So I see it being much more high scoring this time.
I think I heard UCF 38-31 is what I think I heard, Maddie. Maddie, appreciate you joining us again on Suns Live, and I'll see you Saturday in New Orleans.
Looking forward to it. See you guys then. It might actually be raining. I did see your forecast about nice weather. I would double check that several times before Friday because things change every 30 minutes here. So just a tip.
Good note for Knights fans traveling to New Orleans. Thanks, Maddie.
All right. See you guys.
All right, Adam, Mike, who you got? Final score.
All right. I've tried this every time. We keep saying the wrong one. I've tried this every time, Trace. I can't really figure this out. I think we're going to blow somebody out. We don't. I think we are. We it's close. I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go 34-33 UCF.
I think we haven't seen it all year. I think we're due for one.
No,
an overtime thriller.
Oh, boy.
Maybe double overtime, a la 2017. Give me a high-scoring game, 44-41, Knights.
33-24. Make it a two-possession game. UCF wins. Goes to the Cotton Bowl. All right. It was good to catch up with Maddie and get a little preview of that game. Should be interesting. A lot of narratives in this one. Saturday afternoon. We're going to see how it plays out. Let's go around the kingdom real quick before we open that mailbag. Men's basketball falls to 5-2. They lose 66-64 to Miami. Taylor Hendricks, AC Freshman of the Week, second straight week. Adam, it was good to see Darius Johnson get some meaningful minutes. 24 points here in this one. Having him back in the lineup is a good thing.
Yeah, 15 in a row at one point, Trace, and he single-handedly kind of led that comeback. Miami was up pretty big for a while there. He leads the comeback, and that's great. He's obviously coming off an injury. The team had played well without him, so it's always tough to kind of integrate yourself back into the lineup. But, for those who forgot, you see what kind of player DJ is, what he brings to the team. So another weapon. Obviously, his scoring has probably been a little bit of a concern the last few games. You like to see DJ, especially the way he was aggressive, the way he found his own shot. Came up just a little bit short, but definitely good to have him back on the court.
Let's hear from him on what he thinks are this team's strengths.
The team is great. I think we have a lot of guys on the perimeter that can score the ball. We have a lot of length on the team. And defensively, I think we're underestimated. I think we have a great defensive team. And I think once offense gets going for us, we're going to be a really tough team to deal with.
Mike, you feeling it? You feel good?
Yeah, I feel better than I did at the beginning of the year. They're playing well. So they got to keep it going. Like I've said before, we've seen this before in non-conference games. I want to see what it's like a month from now, 2 months from now.
Got a couple of guys writing for us at twonightsmedia.com. John Weiss is doing opponent previews, and new this week, Leo Rodriguez is doing recaps. You'll find those on twonightsmedia.com. Sunday, December 5th, they're back home against Samford. Women's basketball, right before we came on, they moved to 6-0 this season. They won over Sam Houston 67-55, perfect under City of Messer. A little bit harder on Saturday. They are at Auburn, so we'll see if they can extend that to 7-0. And now, volleyball, they are 21st ranked, 27-1 overall. A lot of awards announced this week, including McKenna Melville, not only Offensive Player of the Week, but she's AAC Player of the Year. It's a three-peat for the award. Amber Olson, AAC Setter of the Year. That's back-to-back. And now the NCAA tournament, they are up in State College, Pennsylvania. They face Yale in the tournament on Friday. That'll be on ESPN+. Winner will face Penn State, UMBC, Maryland, Baltimore County. They play as well on Friday. So let's see now with McKenna Melville, Amber Olson, the super seniors, how deep they can go in this NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this team obviously have good regular seasons and not be able to put it together in the postseason. So last ride from McKenna Melville, a three-peat AAC Player of the Year award is damn impressive. But let's see how it unfolds in the playoffs. Unfortunately, we haven't seen him have success there. Maybe this is the year. Yale's a tough opponent. Penn State's not any easier. So the draw gave us no favors. But you never know, Trace. You never know what can happen. But let's see what the team can do in the postseason.
Do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
I do.
You knew that was coming.
Wait, we have to. I mean, this is the best team we've ever had.
Do you remember they did win in their opening round game last year?
Opening round. I mean, let's make a run here. Come on, get out of this little bracket and move on to the next weekend.
little bracket. I will say this though, with McKenna Melville, Amber Olson, if you're going to have that deep run, this is the time to do it. With just one loss on the season and 5-peat there as AAC champ. So this is the year. All right, mailbag time.
Well, I mean, you can't announce that, Trace. That can only be announced by one person.
It's that time again. Let's open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
How many takes was that, Brian? Brian, by the way, as we are talking now, en route to New Orleans with a car full of people. Be safe in your travels. Some walk-in talks this week as well.
Yeah, here's our first. This comes courtesy of our friend Ryan.
Hey guys, Santa Night here. I just was wondering, does Trace deserve a raise? I think he does.
We're taking Venmo, Ryan, if you want to send in any contributions.
I love that
PayPal,
from Ryan.
Whatever you need.
The guy wears the Santa hat all year. Now it's finally Christmas time. He's got the Christmas tree in the background. No Santa hat.
It's fair.
It does seem a fair critique, but since we're doing contract negotiations right here live,
yes. Please see Andy, who's in charge of all
Andy's talking about getting healthcare benefits and a 401k plan. I'm sitting there going, "Wait, what's going on?"
Well, Trey, he's got to buy all those shoes, man. Those aren't free, Those shoes cost money.
Has he covered up the shoes now during the show? There's some sort of camera in front of the shoes.
I'm glad you caught that. Yeah, the last show before we record, I turned around and I see Andy hanging something up on the wall, and I said, "What are we doing?" He's like, "It's my wife's shoes, my shoes." So I think he's getting a little, a little embarrassed, a little shoe shy. I'm not really sure.
A little shoe shy.
I don't know what's going on.
Send him that extra flag you got there. Maybe you can cover it up with that.
That flag has been given away, Mike. Happy to announce that we found Jacob from the Sons of UCF Pool Tracker Tournament. Jacob found us, tracked us down. He is the runaway winner, and he and I have been messaging. He's the winner of the extra Big 12 flag I have, so that'll be going to Jacob as part of winning Robert's favorite prize, the Pool Tracker Award.
Mike, he was like 30 games over 500. How did he do this?
I don't know.
68 wins or something like that?
Yeah, I think he had the almanac that Biff stole in Back to the Future. There's no other way to explain it. I've never seen a heater like that.
Well, Jacob, if you're listening, who's going to win this one? Because it's a big one.
Yeah, Jacob, if you're watching, drop that in. Who's winning, just so we know. And we defeated the Banneret, right? The comfortable lead over the Banneret. So go Team Suns.
Sure.
So that's a good thing. Another walk and talk.
We do. This is this is a submission from a listener, but it's a proxy question, Trace.
Hey Sons, it's Ben Chase here, the guy who's on that crazy ultimate college football road trip. I stopped in Tucson and I dropped Wild Bill off at the last exit because he was talking too much. You may know me from UCF games such as this year's SMU game or the 2017 War on I-4. Anyways, I don't want to talk too long because I don't want to get Peterson, but 2 letters, 2 words, had a question for you guys. If you were on the Ultimate College Football Road Trip, which 3 members of UCF Twitter Mafia would you take with you? Anyways, that's all I got for you. Go Knights, charge on, and hopefully I see you guys at the Cotton Bowl.
Proxy. This is taking on a life of its own.
That was fantastic.
Peterson.
Peterson. Yeah. That's a good question, though. Who would you take along with you?
I mean, I'd take you 2, of course. I mean, I have to take you 2 guys, and then I get 1 wild card spot. You know, I'm Mike hung out with him this week. Seems like a fun guy to watch a game with. Give me Dolly Drama. I'll bring Dolly along for the journey. So us 3, us 2, and Dolly Drama. That's our.
I've yet to meet Dolly. By the way, that was hysterical, Mike, when you were your top 5 list, which had 8 items, but the different points that you were making about the people was really fun.
Yeah, I've met some great people all season long, really, going back to the first game at the Den and then the tailgate we did for the Louisville game. And I've been back at the Den a bunch of other times. And now this week going to Tampa, I've met a lot of people, and Dolly is up there. You know, I have to bring Mario with me. I think
Mario's a good one. Yeah.
Got to be the guy. And plus he loves to drive. So I'll put him behind the wheel.
Questionable.
My boy, Brian W. Peterson, the guy, he's a mensch. I've hung out with him for a couple games now too. We got a nice text message chain we got going during the games and all that stuff too. And one of my new favorites, Jackie. We do touchdown shots after every touchdown. I don't know if I can leave her out, so that might be my 3.
In the car, that's going to be kind of challenging.
Well, you got to get to the game.
Do you?
We've left Robert, 2 letters, 2 words, who I'll be hanging out with in New Orleans. He's out of that trip. But it's good that Brian is, or Brian maybe drive off the road now as he's listening to the show. Brian has a question, by the way.
Yeah.
Was the USF outcome a best case scenario? We can walk away with victory, but it's also a stark wake up call on this team and coaches to get it together before the AAC championship. I don't know. The wake up call was Navy, and you saw what happened in the second half of USF. I think, as you said, we don't know which team shows up, and I don't know that they do.
Yeah, if we need a wake up call at this point in the season, Trace, I don't know. I mean, the one thing I did like about what I saw in the Cal game was how we started fast. We came out on both sides of the ball. We were playing really well. That's what I want to see us do, is have that energy. If what we needed to do was stumble a little bit against the Cows to get me that, then I'll take it. But ultimately, I want to see them come out with that same sort of energy. I feel like sometimes we come out, we kind of feel the defense out. Defense kind of figures out what's going on. I want to see us come out and play with energy, play fast. So if we needed that to make that happen, then sign me up.
Yeah, I don't think there's any wake-up calls. This is a championship game. You don't need any wake-up calls. You don't need any pep talks. You don't need any of that stuff. This is for all the marbles. Go out there and bring home the trophy.
Golden Knight _2. Which win versus the Cows was most frustrating to watch, Mike? You're a historian on this. 13, 17, 21, 22. 22.
There were a lot of frustrating. The 13 one was very frustrating, too. We were the much better team. I think they were a 2-win team that year. And another one where we kept turning the ball over. Storm Johnson fumbled. Blake throwing interceptions. It was very similar to this one, except we never got a big lead in that one. So that was very frustrating. This year's obviously was frustrating. How about the 2020 game? Everybody seems to forget about that. We thought we were going to blow them out with Heupel, and somehow we're in a shootout with them. And it's like, I don't even know what the final score was. It's both in the 40s, 50s. So there's been a bunch. It's hard to pick one.
At NEISENHA, please explain why pooch kicks are ever a good idea. Again, what happened was not what was meant to happen. That was not the way the kick was supposed to go. Coach Malzahn was frustrated about where it went, but it was supposed to be squibbed much further.
Yeah, do they practice this? Is that something that they're doing? Do it a little bit more, maybe one more rep next time to make sure we get that right. I mean, like Mike and I said in the podcast, like kick that thing as high as you can in the air. Let the team run under it, make one of those up men. Put a hand up in the air, and let's call it a day here. I don't know why we try to get cute with these things. So maybe never again.
The Mike Hughes play against them. I don't think they wanted that at all. At Lonely B UCF, Mike, how much money did T. Will have on USF to cover?
About $350, at least. He had to have something. But like I said on the show, it wasn't all on the defense. You give them the short field, the turnovers that killed you.
They couldn't tackle.
No, they couldn't tackle. But I mean, they were off the field for one play, and then they had to get right back on there and try to make a stop. It's hard to ask.
At UCF, as the coaching carousel begins, T. Will's name isn't being tossed around just yet. Does that mean he stays at UCF another year, or will that change after championship Saturday?
Still early. I mean, it's still early in the coaching carousel. Dominoes.
What do you think of some of the coaching moves, by the way? Herman now at FAU.
It's a good hire for FAU. I mean, that's a really good hire, I think. I mean, he's obviously had success at the Group of 5 level. He knows the American Conference. I mean, obviously they're heading in there now, want to make a splash. I think that's a good hire for FAU relative to where they were. Some of the other hires are interesting. I mean, Matt Rule, sure, whatever. Hugh Freeze. I mean, there's a little bit of stuff going there. I mean, there's some connections to Gus's staff. I think we have to watch what goes on at Auburn.
TJ Kinney with a
TJ Kinney
now at Texas
now a head
State.
job at Texas State. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the next domino. I'm curious to figure out what happens with the NFL. And are there coaches who jump? There's always one surprise coaching move last year, Lincoln Riley to USC. Something else is going to happen this year, surprising. I'm kind of waiting to figure out what that is, but I don't think we're anywhere close to having this figured out yet.
Mike, Dion, what do you think he ends up doing?
Dion is all about one thing: pay the man. Wherever he's going to get the most money is probably where he's going to go. Money and control. I don't know. I don't really want to see him end up with the Cows. I don't want to see him end up in Cincinnati, so I'm hoping for Colorado.
He'd be an odd fit in Colorado, wouldn't he? It's just the Pac-12 seems like out of his recruiting.
He may just be trying to get as much money as possible and not go anywhere, and then just have his name out there, and then next year find an even better job.
At Sublime_Night, you can trade all 3 losses. Oh, I hate these questions. You can trade all 3 losses this year for a single loss to USF. The championship game would be at home, probably rated top 15, but you leave the series tied and have a fresh loss to USF. Do you take it? No.
Get out.
No.
No, that means they've ruined the perfect season. No.
The bottom line is he's banned for 1 week from questions. He's banned for 1 week.
Oh, this is a first.
Banned 1 week.
This is a first. Unless you get a Suns Plus membership. If you pay,
there you go.
If you pay, you can have your band lifted. At Devon Swage, if Mike
hard pass. Here we go.
Okay. And by the way, Lauren, I would love to car trip with you. I have been with Jan and Britt. So
you didn't answer that question, by the way. You get Mike and I in the firing squad here.
Yeah, I stayed out of that. At Devon Swage, if Mikey starts this weekend, which we do not anticipate happening, and brings the trophy home to Orlando, how on earth does UCF let him walk away in the portal? I don't think it's going to be UCF's say at that point. Guys come up big when you've asked them to, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think JRP seems to be starting by all accounts at this point. If something happens, we'll see what goes on from there. But yeah, I think Mikey's going to have to make some decisions. I think we all probably understand what he's looking at. As much as I'd love to keep the kid here forever because he's just a good kid to be around, makes plays when you need to make plays. I think he's going to figure out what's best for him. So that's going to suck, but we always have the good times, Mikey.
Mike at CROWKER4, talking about the Mikey JRP. Are we going to have to go through this all over again? Do we have to endure it again with the quarterback? It's been the theme all season, hasn't it? A division in the fan base on this topic.
Yeah, and if Mikey wins this game for us, a championship game, you're going to have to endure it. And we're going to talk about it for another month leading into the New Year's Six.
I would travel Lonely Bumblebee with the dudes on the mall. Anywhere they're going. At Mary Ashbaugh 6, what do you think will change for play calling on Saturday? Which I think is interesting, right? You heard Maddie say, Tulane's got to start off better on both sides of the ball, but you know how well JRP ran the ball early and often against Tulane, and UCF got up on a lead. What do you think they changed? I think you guys talked a little bit about this. Don't outthink this, Gus. Don't start passing the ball. You got a lot of running backs. Run the ball. If not JRP, other people can run. Let everybody run.
Shameless plug. Again, the breakdown film review that we did that's on YouTube, myself and Andy from UCF XOS, he highlighted in the Cincinnati game a wrinkle he saw on the Tulane defense was dropping a line defender to kind of be in those short throwing windows, which is something that Navy did against us as well, too. So now you've seen Navy's tape against us. You wonder if Tulane will use some of that. Now, I would say, obviously, a lot of that tape would have a lot of Mikey Keene clips in there. So I agree with you, though, Trace. I just don't want Gus to outthink himself. And that's my biggest concern. Is my headline this week in the show was Maniac Malzahn. Is I don't want him to outthink himself. I think we stick to what we do. We figured that out. I think you have to establish the run, though. But I think Tulane's going to want to make JRP a passer. And so we'll see how that works out.
Mike at Zeebles UCF, which makes you more nervous? JRP not being 100% healthy or Tyjae Spears being 100% healthy?
Spears. I think that's easy. I think it's definitely Spears. He's going to be the guy we have to key in on. If Plumlee is not 100% healthy, I'm okay with Mikey Keene. I mean, we've seen it all year. So to me, if you give me those two options, I'd rather not see Spears at all.
Adam at Rejoice Night says, Gus more committed to the player or to his own ego? Ooh, going dark there, Joyce. Jeez.
Look, to be fair, I flip-flop in this question throughout the year because I think there are times where I felt like there maybe was a little bit of stubbornness, but look where we are. Look how we ended up. I think we definitely saw some things that maybe we didn't always have correctly. So I think he is probably looking out for the best interest, but every football coach is stubborn. Every football coach has an ego. And I do think Gus is probably going to use some of that as he makes decisions. But the result is we're here playing for a championship in 2 days. It's tough to argue that some of that was incorrect.
Mike at Scott UCF 15. Does UCF perform better as the underdog in important games? You like that underdog role this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's worked for us in games like the Fiesta Bowl against Baylor and the Peach Bowl. But you know what? We've done pretty well as the favorite in championship games. I think every time we've been favored in championship games, we've won. And the 2 times that we've been the underdogs in championship games, we've lost. Both of them to Tulsa. So I don't think it really matters if you look at it that way.
At Barry Attic, favorite place to eat and favorite place to drink in New Orleans? Anywhere on Bourbon Street, you'll be fine. And really anywhere you eat.
Yeah, Trace, that's just for you. That's your question.
Yeah, I mean, you're fine anywhere in New Orleans. Between food and drink, you're good. At S. Morrow, top 5 current nights to enter the transfer portal. Mike, you got 8 of them?
Yeah, and that I'm scared of. I'm scared of all of them leaving. I mean, it's 2022. Anybody can enter the portal. But we mentioned Mikey Keene, obviously. I've heard rumors of maybe Ryan O'Keefe, who's got an extra year. Johnny Richardson is probably a guy that's going to be gone. He hasn't got too many touches this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he enters.
Punter entered the portal this week. A punter entered the portal.
There you go.
Well, he didn't enter the portal, Trish. You actually can't enter until Sunday. So he just said he's going to enter. So he actually may play on Saturday. I think that's something to watch to see if he's on the field on Saturday because he technically isn't in the portal yet.
Yeah.
But I think so.
Why mention it, though?
Yeah, you get out there early. I don't know. My prediction is I think we're going to lose, obviously, quarterback Mikey. I think 1 to 2 running backs, as Mike said. Our running back room is getting crowded. There's not a lot of touches to go around. I think 1 to 2 running backs. I do think 1 to 2 receivers. Keep an eye on a linebacker. I'm really worried about our young secondary. Keep an eye on the corners that we have out there, particularly the guys who've gotten playing time. Brandon Adams, Corey Thornton, Justin Hodges. Those guys all concern me.
At Nightfan 94, what position biggest target for the portal shopping this offseason? Lines.
Offensive line, linebacker too, man. I mean, I think we've got to get more depth there. We've seen how that's hurt us throughout the year.
Mike, you agree at Crash Cart 1, biggest area in need of recruiting, which, by the way, we're going to have early signing day coming up soon.
Yeah, it's always moving into the Big 12. That's going to be the biggest thing that we're going to have to catch up on. We've always had no problem with the skill positions, even when we played the better teams. But the offensive line, the depth on the offensive and defensive lines have to be the key.
At M_M and UCF, where do we stand with John Walker? Well, just going by what Coach Malzahn said during Monday's media availability, he feels good about everybody. And now he just needs to bring them all in.
Trace, come on. He said Cruton's going really good. Really good.
He has been speaking that up. So that ramp up to the Big 12, you would hope so. At Rock Solid Dennis, other than Orlando with a bounce house, what was the best AAC destination, best stadium to visit? For me, the best experience in the American is seeing UCF at Navy. Just the tradition and everything that goes along with the Naval Academy. That was the trip I enjoyed the most. He's also asking about favorite press box. ECU has built a fine facility, but yeah, you can't beat the Cows rented home. That is an NFL-ready press box right there in Tampa. So sight lines are a little bit, they got you kind of angled it from the end zone, but state of the art there. So at Spursy Night, best all-time American Athletic Conference moment.
I assume he means with us in it, right?
I would assume, just like Maddie said, that she not selling a lot of tickets. If you're just a random fan, we're probably not going to give anybody else a credit. I mean, Mike Hughes.
Yeah, I mean, so if I assume this requires us to have an actual conference opponent we're playing. If that's the case, then I'll go reservation for 6.
There's so many, though. I mean, the Hale Perriman to win the conference, too. The Louisville game, the first real big win in this conference when we were underdogs at Louisville, down 3 touchdowns. And both championship games. And the double overtime in 17 and then the comeback in 18. there's a lot to pick from.
I'll just say this, that being a part of the celebration after the 2017 AAC championship win, I think if you were in the stands and you were watching that, that was a special moment, knowing what you had in front of you, Mackenzie Milton and Shaquem Griffin. How about Shaquem this week as part of the uniform reveal for the Knights? It's great how they have worked guys back in, that they stay connected to the program like that. And how about the big news now that it looks like this playoff is going forward, which, back to the question asked about the importance of this American Athletic Conference championship game. This might be UCF's best chance for at least a little while with this transition to the Big 12 to find itself in a really important game at the end of the season.
Yeah, we got to take care of business. I mean, there's no question about it. We have a good opportunity in front of us. We fought to get here. A lot of things had to go on our way, and we figured out a way to make all those things happen. We had obviously some downs, but here we are. I feel like it's a house money game. Like, there's so many things that could have happened and did happen that could have not had us playing here, and yet here we are. So you might as well go out and win the whole damn thing while you're there, right?
The playoff expanding is going to be the best thing for college football, and it's going to be great for us. Every season we've come into the year knowing we really have no chance of making the playoffs. From now on, being in the Big 12, even if you don't win it, you can be the second team coming out of the Big 12. It's possible to make the playoff every single year.
So, Adam, you got XO Show with Andy now up on YouTube. And a reminder, give us a 5-star review, and we'll draw for some Colton Boomer merchandise next week on all the new ones that we get. We'll randomly select somebody to win something from coltonboomer.com. And, we got a question in the mailbag last week from one of the Marching Knights, Eric Solberg. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, you guys want to do something to end the show? And he was good enough to put something together during their practice. It's so good, by the way, that they're going to send part of the band up to New Orleans. That extra noise and extra energy and enthusiasm will be good for all the Knights fans that are traveling to New Orleans, including the band. And Brian W. Peterson and his gang, be safe in your travels, flying or driving. Need a big crowd up there on Saturday. And where you're watching from home, bring the energy as well. Let's end with the Marching Knights for Adam and Mike. I'm Trace Scholko. Go Knights, everybody.
Charge on.
Hi, I'm Eric Solberg with the Marching Knights Drumline, and
thank you for watching Sons of UCF.
Go Knights!
Charge on!